Welcome back to the British and Irish Eagles podcast, and draft season is in full flow. We hope you enjoyed the Hollis Thomas podcast last week. We certainly did, and what better way to follow up Hollis Thomas than Fourth and Jawn, tailgate and podcast legend himself, at Eagle Sessions on Twitter. Gayle Saunders, how the devil are you, sir?
I'm good, man. It's always a great time with you guys. Usually we're partying, sipping on something exclusive. Last time I saw you guys, it was a good time, man. So I'm trying to ride the high. I don't know if we can top that, but
I think we'll definitely top that with the trip this year. And actually, very poignant that you mentioned that, because literally about 20 minutes ago on our WhatsApp group, which was the Philly trip 2023 trip, Vicky, the small girl who came with us, from the Isle of Wight, she traveled via something. She took boats, trains, planes, automobiles, the whole shebang. She just sent us a little video of a mug she made, which has pictures all around it of all the different things we did on the trip. And she said, and I quote, Vicky, had a mug made with pictures from the best weekend of my life. There you go. How amazing is that?
I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, you put this thing in the swing. Incredible. I feel like it was. I thought it was a great. I kind of like. I start living through other people. I start looking at everyone's experiences. That's kind of how I am. I look at the people around me, just to see you guys embrace the Philly culture, and the Philly culture embrace you guys. I felt like you guys were in the elements, and then you guys got a win to top it off.
We got the dub. We got the dub
for a season that was kind of. You got.
I think the reason the Eagles failed towards the end of the season is because we left Philadelphia.
It was your fault.
That's what happens. I think it's our fault.
100%.
Listen, let me introduce the brain and the fence. Back to the podcast. Phil, how the devil are you, my friend? Sipping a nice red wine, I see there. What red are you tasting tonight?
I am trying the fruity notes of a Primitivo left over from the weekend, actually, so it's not as glamorous as it sounds. Just
Italian soiree, I like it.
Cracked it open when I did my first mock draft of the year to try and
forward to seeing that
progress. I wouldn't. Honestly, I've got zero confidence in this one, but then again, Liam wins every year, so
I saw your first pick, and you know that's my guy. I won't say any more on that, but I liked the look of I actually really like the look of Tony's mock draft as well. I feel like my mantle will be crushed swiftly this year, but
what you do every year, Liam. You kind of go, blow smoke up everyone else's backside, and then when it comes to it and you win, the victory lap, the shirt comes off, running around the kitchen. It's all just a stage act.
He's a little smug over there. I can see it. You can't make that.
Hey, listen, I'm enjoying life right now, and Tony, my friend, welcome back to the podcast. We're looking at Mr. Slay and Mr. Graham in the background, and just a second ago before we came on here, you were bemoaning the fact that you haven't received your Brandon Graham exclusive sticker yet, but Gayle already has it. I mean, this is what happens when you move in Gayle's circles, Tony. You get shit first. Look at that bad boy.
Do you want me to review it for you?
Let's go for it.
Do it.
Shout out to Jordan Spector, by the way. The Immortals, Timeless Legacies, comes with a certificate of authenticity. Boom. And then you all remember that moment.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't even want to take it out.
And Tony's sporting his Dawkins version over there.
Very nice. Very nice.
I got one of those in the background here, but I need to make a confession, and that is that you got it as well. We paid to get the Dawkins run over to go and do a promotion on Twitter about it, but I've yet to do said promotion, and she's still sitting in the back of my bar. So I've now announced it on the podcast, so we'll have to get that thing put out on Twitter for a competition soon.
Let's go, man. Yeah.
Rookie error on my part, maybe for letting that be known. Tony, how you doing, my friend? I know a long day at work. Are you looking forward to getting some Eagles?
It's been a long one. I have been looking forward to getting back and doing this tonight and getting some chat with Gayle. I'm in a great mood right now, but let's see how the last mock standing goes. And if Liam, you are the last mock standing, then Phil and I will be officially going on strike, and Gayle, you will not be invited back on another pod.
Jesus, wow.
The game's
All right.
going on tonight.
Oh my God. The guy's only a month into doing the podcast and he's ruling the show. I love it. Listen, Gayle, we had you on last year to do last mock standing, I should say. And obviously that went well for me. May not do today, but give people listening in an insight to how seriously you take this time of the year, because you mentioned, and I stopped you because I wanted to get it live in the podcast. You mentioned what you were doing last night. Tell the listeners what you were up to last night.
Shout out to my lady who kindly woke up at like 3 a.m. She's like,
she is a great lady. I've met her. She's a lovely lady.
Are you still doing what I think you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing what and she's like, are you really doing what you think? So I had to show her my I look at things through like a graphic perspective. Mm-hmm. So I always like move things around in graphics. It helps my memory. Mm-hmm. And it helps me see things and put things together. So I was looking at the Eagles draft history in the first round and during the Howie season and trying to make sense of where the Eagles might pick and make it make sense. And putting prospects, faces. I'm building my own big board.
I like it.
So by the end,
your mind big board, like your mind map big board.
We have ages. We got heights. We got guys on the roster, on our current roster, their ages, where they're at, contracts. It makes me make sense of everything. And this is just for. I'm actually going to share it on our show today.
Oh yes,
not this show.
That. Oh, the 4th of John show you're recording later?
Oh, I'll share some of the information.
You can share. Your reach is much bigger than ours. Don't worry. You won't be giving much away.
Things off the top of the head, I could just say that the Eagles are not going to draft a safety in the first round because why? Because they've never drafted a safety in the first round. The Eagles have not drafted a linebacker in the first round since 1979. It's been a while. So for you linebacker stands out there, we're not drafting a linebacker.
Now that's an interesting point, and we did the podcast with Hollis last week, which was brilliant. But we had this whole schedule lined up, and I'm going to need your opinion on how you manage Hollis on the podcast, because we started a podcast and Hollis just took over straight away and went straight into like draft. I was like, Hollis, where are you going? But I just gotta let it go and flying. I posed a question to him last week, which was in the championship games, in the AFC and NFC championship games, the 4 teams that were playing, they all had standout linebackers. Do you think Howie is unable to move that far away from his go-to to draft someone like that based on what you just said?
Well, I mean, after the fact of bringing in Devin White, who's on paper can make up to like 7'5", that is like a big deal for Howie to make that move. Obviously, when
he's made that jump, then you reckon
he's made a step,
a step
in the right direction. But I feel like they have to take a gamble and develop their own. I think in the second round, that's where you could potentially hit linebacker. I think that's a great spot. Normally, the Eagles will wait in the recent past. We've waited in the 3rd round to get Davion Taylor in 3rd round. Kobe Dean with the injury concerns in the 3rd round. You might need to bump it up in the 2nd round. We do have 2 picks in the 2nd round, 50 and 53. So I think a lot of people are talking about Edrin Cooper out of Texas A&M. He's got size, got some range. He's like, do we have a player like that in our linebacker group? Howie's out there bringing guys off the street to try to make it make sense. Oren Burke is in here. Got Zach Bond, who is like the Van Ginkel of the Fangio defense. He can.
Well, Fangio's a big part as well, right? You got to factor in linebacker when you think about his scheme. It's not even more in that way.
And then we have Devin White, and then we have Nakobe Dean, who I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, are they gonna be excited about Van Sumeren, the undrafted free agent from Michigan, who's still on the roster? I hat tip to him from even still being on the roster, being an undrafted guy.
He looked great in preseason last year, didn't he?
I mean, he looked all right.
Okay, great might be a bit of a stretch.
You know, I'll give him credit for just making the squad. To me, if you're an undrafted free agent making the squad, I feel like that's great. But in terms of like, are we going to look at our roster and be competent? Are we going to think about elevating and getting better? Like, if there's a position that you need to attack, it's all about getting the right players in here. You can't just say, "Hey, let's roll the dice on Nakobe Dean again and think everything's gonna be okay." Like, if there's a guy that's high on your board and you like him, you need to strike.
I like that. Before we get into the specifics, before we go down the Hollis Thomas drill last week, which was fantastic, by the way, absolute whirlwind of a podcast, loved it, and we got some great reaction from all the fans over here. But before we go down different avenues, let's bring it back to the agenda this week, Phil. And Phil, I wonder if I could throw it over to you for a couple of questions for Gayle, but also how him and the 4 for Jawn boys feel about a couple of the people who've left the organization so far, and how that emanates into what the Eagles are going to do this year.
Yeah, so since we've sort of spoken to you last, there's obviously been a couple of major departures, a couple of minor departures, and just wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously, Fletcher Cox's retirement press conference was today, even though obviously we knew we've known for a few weeks now, and Kelsey's big send-off, Reddick going, Suo-Peta going, plus a couple of, you know, incomings and Gardner Johnson coming back. Just there's a lot to unpack there, but just give us your overall sort of how it's been for you guys. Like, you obviously going to been discussing this for quite a few weeks now. What's the general sort of feeling around the 4th and Jawn boys?
Now, during the Jason Kelsey retirement speech, there's a couple texts back and forth like, "Dude, are you crying?" Bro, I'm bawling. Like, you know, we've all been not waiting, but we've been awaiting this moment. Like, we knew that it was near. I think for a guy who's been such a you talk about a guy who's the city of Philadelphia, like he literally could run for mayor and he would easily win. He's got a hold on the city. I think he's got a hold on the heartstrings of the whole Eagles fan base. He's a guy that I think he sets the foundation for the players to come. You know, a guy who you can look at and understand his journey, understand him being a walk-on, understand him being, like, you know, drafted in the 5th round. I remember him when he was at the first football camp. I took a photo of him. I actually posted it on social media, but he had the shaggy hair, shaggy beard.
Shagger.
People in the crowd are like, "Who is the caveman?" Undersized caveman. And just to think about who he is in that photo compared to him on the steps and him in you know, in his retirement speech, like who he became. It's and to see that journey, and he's been every bit of a legend. When you meet him, he takes the time. He's out here doing stuff for the community. I think Fletcher Cox, another guy who I was working all day. I didn't get to see his thing yet, but I'll watch it after this. But he's a guy that I wanted the Eagles to draft. I had put out a video a couple weeks ago about saying exactly what I needed. I needed the Eagles to trade up and draft Fletcher Cox because I knew he was the dude, and I wanted him so bad. So the fact that what he's turned into, it's like you create these like this relationship with this player, and you're just like, that's my dude, and I've been rooting for him ever since. So to see both of those guys leave in the same year, it's kind of like it stings. I might be a little watery-eyed right now, but
do you think Fletch could have continued on?
Yeah, he could have. I just think
I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. It literally just came to me. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about the fact that Fletch. Did he have 10 sacks last year?
I'm not sure how many sacks did he have. Did he?
Year before he definitely had. I think he definitely
8.
Yeah, around. I mean, like solid numbers for a defensive tackle who's 33.
He was our most consistent defensive lineman. You talk about younger guys. Jalen Carter was up, down, and just all around. But I think he was amazing. But I just feel like consistent Fletcher Cox. What would have this front been without him? At the end of the day, we want consistency from our younger guys. Obviously, they're young; they're going to learn as they go. But at least they got some foundational knowledge from Fletcher Cox moving into next year.
Did you manage to catch the most recent New Heights podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger? By any chance?
I have not. I've seen it.
Because it's only because when you mentioned about the if he ran for mayor, he would win. It gets brought up about one of the possible career trajectories that Kelsey could go on to, including president, obviously, and governor because of.
I don't think Kelsey is going to be governor or president.
It's just worth checking out because
Kelsey could do no wrong right now. Like he could do a reality show.
Yeah.
And but the fact that his family members are getting that love, like his mom, we were out in Kansas City for
his wife as well.
Before the Kansas City game, we were out in the parking lot. We ran into his mom. We ran into his mom at the airport, and then we bumped into her in Kansas City, and she was serving up some chunky soup. She got the chunky soup deal, and you see her flourish. Then you see his wife.
Yeah.
She's like a rock star. I won't wear cheap stuff at like Chiefs game supporting Travis. Like she's a real one. So
she is.
I just hope people don't get Kelsey'd out. I won't.
I don't think you can. I don't think he's ever going to be a mayor or a presidential candidate. I can see someone like Lane Johnson more tuned to do it. I don't know. He's been at WrestleMania. They both have on Sunday night.
Wrestler Tag Team Wrestling Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. He loves wrestling, Lane, right? We've known that for a long time. I think he's
got a future in that.
I think you're right. But by the way, this is not on topic whatsoever. But did you see the size of Lane Johnson compared to the rest of the wrestlers? Now, growing up, I was a huge wrestling fan in the 90s and in the noughties, early noughties. So the Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Kane, Shawn Michaels era was like, that was all me. I was a huge fan of wrestling when that was going on. But they always seemed like huge men in a small world. And then you look at Lane Johnson next to them, and he makes them all look tiny.
It's crazy how you think about these guys as like just legends. Like in college, I played against John Cena. He was a center, but at the time, you're like, you didn't know this guy was going to become the wrestler, whatever he was. But like.
Huge global actor. I mean, he grossed how many millions last year on all of his franchises? He's massive now.
Small college in Massachusetts that he played at. It was one of our rival teams that we played at. But like my teammates were, old teammates we were passing back pictures of our scouting reports of John Cena.
Oh, really?
It was hilarious. I actually got it on my phone if you want to see it.
Yeah.
It's John Cena, but he was a hothead, cheap shot artist.
Okay. Cheap shot artist. That doesn't surprise me.
Cheap shot artist. But if I could find it. But go ahead. I'll bring it up when I find it.
I'm just trying to think now. Again, completely off topic here. Of the current Eagles roster, Tony, I'll throw it to you. Of the current Eagles roster, Lane Johnson aside, what other Eagles player could you see being a pro wrestler in the future?
Right.
I'm thinking like Jordan Mailata.
I was just going to say, I think you need personality.
I think Mailata could.
I think Jordan could as well. I think Landon Dickerson as well.
Oh yeah, that's a shout.
He's like country strong. He has the overalls.
Yeah, he'll have some cousins who can come in and form like a tag team partnership with him for sure. They're all wearing dungarees or something.
Okay.
Driving in on the lawnmower.
Oh no, lawnmower! Yeah, I love that.
I finally found it. Okay, here's our scouting report.
All right.
Western Connecticut State versus Springfield College.
Springfield College, where the Simpsons are. Yeah.
This is the scouting report, and here we have John Cena.
Oh my God.
John Cena, 6 foot, 240.
Number 57.
Number 54.
54. That's Brian Fahey below him. Yeah.
That is John Cena.
I love that. That's insane. Was he any good?
I guess he was all right. I don't think he lasted too long.
All right. Was he a wrestler in college as well?
He used to tell people that he, like a friend of a friend knew who grew up with him, said he was like, told everybody he was going to be a wrestler, and he would body slam everyone.
Wow. So he's one of those guys who envisaged it in life and just went and did it.
Yeah. But the WrestleMania took over Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys heard.
Everyone in the UK saw it.
I actually didn't go down there. People were like, "Oh, you're going to do a tailgate?" I'm like, I'm a little tired.
I'd say there was a 50-50 mix, Phil and Tony, with the people in the British National chat. Some people like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and then there were people saying, "Grown men, really?"
Wait, it's weird. I mean, because you have this conversation with people like, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" I'm going to WrestleMania. Like, I didn't know you watch wrestling. They're like, "No, I do." Like, it's like this weird. I guess I don't really watch wrestling anymore.
Nor me.
When I was a kid,
same. Yeah. The Rock's back and he's brought a lot of hype. Anyway, we're going way off base here. Let's get Phil. Back to you, man. Back to you. Was there anyone else you wanted to ask about Reddick, maybe?
Yeah. So in part of the question was what's your take on the Reddick situation? Because we posed the question. Obviously, I think was it John Clark? I'm not sure. Someone was plastering over Twitter that he was that the Eagles think he was chasing sacks, and that's kind of the reason why they were getting rid of him. I mean, I'm not to give him more airtime, but it's one of those things where the organization trying to protect themselves. Is there anything to it? Or?
I thought that was clickbait, and I thought just what are you supposed to do? They're supposed to get sacks. That's how they make their money. But I feel like, and people will also say that I'm like, how many Eagle fans were starting to like kick Hassan on the way out? Like, come on, dude. Like, how many sacks did he put up? He was productive. He never made any noise. He showed up. Other players would have sat out. He's a local legend. Like, for the Eagle fans that don't live around this area, the fact that he came from Camden, New Jersey, which is right outside of the stadium area. He went to Temple. He's Temple tough. Mm-hmm. Like he's a guy that everyone roots for. Like his level of sacks, it brought down the stadium. Like when he was a closer, I felt like people were like, "Oh, he made plays. He's a playmaker, but he's not."
Closure's a great shout.
He's a closer. Like he was closing down some of these games with his sacks. I feel like we're gonna miss him.
Did he do it in the Dallas game as well when we were over? I swear he got a sack towards the end of the game.
I think he might have.
Yeah.
At the end of the game. I just think, he has to make his money. The Eagles didn't like the cap hit. You know how he's like, he had the biggest cap hit on the. It's affecting the way. How
do you think Fangio has anything to do with it, Gayle? Do you think his scheme coming in has anything to do with it? A lot of people are talking about that as perhaps a reason why they didn't want to spend. Like Fangio came in and went, "Have a look at him. If you want us to pay him, we will. If he's going to make a big difference, if you could do it with someone else, then we won't." Kind of vibe.
I think we felt that Sweat was on his way out. I think Sweat took a pay cut, and then Sweat is here now. So I think business wise, it could have made sense. I think you could have made it work with Hassan. I feel like just overall, if you're going on this run, I would have loved to have. Hassan with this. But I, from his standpoint, I would not even took a foot on the field if I wasn't to be getting paid. Like he needs to get his money. Hopefully, he gets signs another contract with the Jets. I don't think it happened yet, but I think in terms of it makes sense for Hassan. There's no reason he should take a pay cut. But
do you think? How do you think that? Like, sorry, Phil. How do you think that? You look at NFL teams who are going to win a Super Bowl, and you look at the Jets who are clearly going all in with when they've got Aaron Rodgers there to try and win a Super Bowl. How does that reflect against? Do you think the Eagles' ambitions to go for a Super Bowl title this year when you don't sign a guy like Hassan Reddick, who's going to be a difference maker in that run in, versus he then signs for someone like the Jets? And you can make an argument for or against whether you think they're a Super Bowl candidate this year, but the Jets organization themselves clearly believe they are, which is why they're going all in for it. Is there, and this is the journalist in me here, right? Is that an insight into the Eagles are building for 2025, 26?
I mean, they'll always tell you about they're trying to win it while thinking about the future. And I feel like this move, if they feel like Nolan Smith is going to be that guy for them, we always thought that he was, if you
first round pick.
You check out their RAS score, their numbers match. I put in Nolan Smith's RAS score for a match to who would be like. It gave me Hassan Reddick. So they tested athletically the same. I think you want to get him on the field as a first rounder. I think thinking about this draft, that's where my brain is going. The way that it makes sense. He's paying these edge rushers when they're free agents, you're spending way too much money. Like, it's always good to get edge rushers in the draft. Save yourself some money, develop your own talent. But it's going to be tough to see him flourish up 95, which is the highway around here. But he's not too far away from here. He's like an hour and a half from here. So
was Hassan Reddick the reason that the earthquake happened in New Jersey?
It could have been. It could have been. It could have been.
All right, Tony, throw it over to you. Get us back on script here. Come on.
So we're about to come on to last mock, Gayle. But I seem to remember listening to an episode of 4th and Jawn where you were describing your drive down to Mobile, Alabama, and I still can't believe that you do that. What was Mobile like this year? What was the Senior Bowl? Who were your standouts in Mobile?
It's funny because this year is the first year I actually flew down there. I normally like to drive.
Going up in the world, baby. I like that.
I was like, maybe I'll just fly down there.
Was that a Philly Sports Trips number, or was that personal Gayle?
This is my own sabbatical. I go down there with my notebook. I got on my all the stuff I'm studying. Usually when I drive, I have all that time to think, which is great. But
which is why you stayed up till 4 a.m. last night, because you didn't drive, right?
Exactly. So just going down there, this for me is like my first introduction to actually seeing the players, the guys that I'm reading. I'm getting my first couple, looks at their footage, and then you get to actually see them up close and personal. You're like, this is crazy because like this is the prospect I like. This is the guy who I think could be a potential candidate. And here I'm watching this cornerback from Toledo and being like, Quinyon Mitchell, I don't know why this guy really does it for me. Like, this is the cornerback we need. It's kind of a fit. Let me see how he does. Like, he's from Toledo, right? How's he going to do against the big college prospects down here? And he blew it out of the water. Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo. I'm like, all right, let's see how he does. He's shutting people down. I'm asking some of the wide receivers. I asked Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall from Florida, Roman Wilson from Michigan. I'm like, who's the tone setter? They're like, Quinyon Mitchell.
Really?
And then I asked them. I got a photo with Quinyon. This is for I'm putting it out there. If I take a photo with this guy, this is the dude right here. So then
he's your shagger of the draft, as we would call it.
Yeah, whatever that means. But yeah,
it's like so shagger is our coined term. I think Mick coined the term shagger. What was it, you, Phil? I can't remember. One of the two of you coined the term, which is like, so every year we have a shagger for the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So it was CJ Gardner-Johnson, the year he was here. It was Reed Blankenship last year, Phil.
Yeah.
So your Shagger's like the guy you think is going to be a dog.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. I mean, but then you're like, am I trusting my own eyes or am I trusting? So when you see them up against somebody, then you're like, wow, okay, then I was right. I'm right where I need to be. Oh, he could be like potential. I'm looking for the, second, third round type. And then as the week progressed, I'm like, this guy's killing it. I was like, it's out the bag now. Everybody knows about him.
Then you're annoyed. You're like, fuck,
Yeah,
why were you that good, for fuck's sake?
So then I interview him. I'm like, tell me who you model your game after. And he's like, Darius Slay. And I was like, man.
I hope you went, would you like to meet the Slays? Because I know the Slays. Because you know the Slays.
I didn't drop it on him, but I could have.
No, you could have.
But you know what? That was stupid. I could have.
You missed the trick.
A great opportunity. I was like, hey man, we could hang out with Darius Slay. That would be awesome.
Gayle, I can coach you anytime you want, man. It's fine.
I need the tips. Another standout, I say, wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Look, when I go to the Senior Bowl, this is where all these players make a lot of money. This is what really they go from like, a day 3 candidate to, making some generational wealth. I think Ricky Pearsall from Florida. We're talking wide receiver 3. Like our wide receiver 3 is Devontae Parker, who's in his 30s. We got Paris Campbell, who's up there, gadgety guy.
We don't have a wide receiver 3.
Exactly. So in terms of like playmakers, guys that can run routes, really run routes, Ricky Pearsall, Lad McConkey from Georgia. They were killing it, man. Like they were routing people up. If there's the thing about this draft, there's a lot of wide receivers in this draft. I'm talking, I don't think I've seen this many wide receivers in like 3 rounds that potentially can go anywhere. I mean, there's guys that in the second round, like an Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, built like DK Metcalf, 1 year production. I saw him down at the Senior Bowl, the first day of practice. I was like, dude, like the second day he put on.
What do you think of Brian Thomas Jr.? Because last week when Hollis was on the podcast, he said he's
been trying to sell me on him too.
He's been he basically shat all over my Cooper DeJean pick in the first round. He wanted to go Brian Thomas Jr. and just blow the lights off everyone on offense. And I was like, and I think a few of us were like, I was like, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Dallas Goedert, you got Saquon Barkley, you got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith. How's Brian Thomas Jr. getting the ball?
Well, you talk about a guy with size who can stretch the field. I think at his size and the way the burst that he has, you saw what he did with Malik Neighbors on the field. Just imagine what he would do with like Devontae and AJ
and Dallas. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like the amount of snaps you're going to give your offensive coordinator to scheme up for these guys. Like, do you really look at the other teams in the NFL, right? And you look at it.
Yeah.
None of them have. We already have the most potent offensive weapons in the NFL right now, without a wide receiver 3. For me, sorry to hog the mic here, but for me, I just think it's a big risk to go and put your chips in again on a high value draft at another skill position when you already have those there, especially when you factor in that wide receivers can be a bit diva. And we've seen AJ Brown can be a little diva when he's not getting the ball. And yeah, we know it's all good, but realistically, we know he wants his 1,000 yards and his, and his touchdowns. And you factor in Saquon Barkley coming over, Dallas Goedert when he's fit and healthy is a great potent. I just don't see why you would invest that draft capital in someone else where you can get that later in the rounds. Or is that what you're saying? It's a deep class you can.
That's where I'm at, because like when I look at the first round, there's so many other guys that obviously the guys, some Neighbors and Rome Odunze and Harrison,
Marvin Harrison.
Like those guys are, my thing is the second tier. There's so many different flavors. So whatever your offense is looking for, we're all looking for a wide receiver 3. If you want guys that can get yacked, there's Malachi Corley. He's kind of like a poor man's Debo Samuel. Xavier Legette also has that kind of yak ability, but I feel like you can get these guys. A.D. Mitchell from Texas. There's the guy from Florida State, Keon Coleman. Big guy, ran a 4.6, could kill the slot. We could have a basketball squad, literally. So I think if you
Nick Foles, baby.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, if you wait to the second round to get that wide receiver, that's where I would be. Like if I'm going to grab my wide receiver 3, I'd probably do it in the second round. But that's why I'm trying to figure out with the first round of the mock, you can easily eliminate all these different prospects. So you're like, how many wide receivers are going to go in the first round? There could be 6 that are drafted. You got even Xavier Worthy from Texas who ran the 4.21. Like, you could wait on that. All these other guys in the second round might have their warts to them, but at the end of the day, if there's a trait that the Eagles like, the board is like really matching up with their needs. You don't really want to move up for needs, but like the board is actually falling to us. And that's where I feel like in the first round, it's perfect for us. There's multiple quarterbacks that are going. We have multiple wide receivers going. This first round is the draft for tackles.
Well, let's stop you there because Tony, sorry, you go ahead.
Sorry, Liam, can I just come in with just a couple of follow-up questions for you, Gayle, and thanks for sharing the mobile piece, because what it does is it just kind of solidifies in my mind where I think you're going to go in the first round in terms of your own mocks. First question about Quinion Mitchell. It seems as if the Eagles had a really good meeting with Quinion down in Mobile. But like you said, he's from Toledo. The other 4 guys that are predicted to go in the first round, so Jawn from Iowa, you've got the 2 Alabama boys and Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Is Quinion Mitchell's performance down in Mobile just a flash in the pan? And you're going to have to trade up from 22 to get him. So are you going to do that, or are you going to be happy with one of the other 4 guys?
In some of my mocks, I've already started doing that.
Have you?
Because I'm looking at our cornerback situation. Like, this is how this is how I'm putting my mental picture with my graphics and everything. Like, I got a 33-year-old corner and I have a 30-year-old corner on my hands. I have Kelly Ringo, I have Josh Jobe, Eli Ricks, who mixed bag of potential, and some other Jags that are behind them. Like, where are we going for the future? Like, if June 1st comes and Bradbury, Phil's guy, is still around, like, do they believe that Fangio's system is actually going to be better suited for a coach? Fangio system is going to be better for Bradbury. Can they wait a year and rely on their back depth? Or can they just say, fuck it, let me go get the cornerback that suits, is versatile, can play in zone, can play in man. He went to the combine, killed it at the combine. Go get your dude. But if the Eagles also believe that you have all these, envision my offensive tackle board, got a 27-year-old Milata who just got paid. Dickerson is set at left guard. Cam Jurgens, your center, right guard. Tyler Steen, potential right guard. We don't like if he's learned from the school of Stalin. Is he that dude? Handpick Cam Jurgens center, 33-year-old, 34-year-old by the season starts, and Lane Johnson. Do you get a guard tackle with guard versatility who can start at guard and then move out to right tackle as they always say, the Eagles are thinking about now but building for the future. So I think this is the draft to get some linemen in this first round, first and second round.
22 is not exactly the pick to get a decent lineman, though, is it? You're either going to have to go up or possibly come down, because we're right in that area of the third and fourth cornerbacks. There's a couple of edges in there that we can probably, you've got Latu, you've got Dallas Turner, you've got Jared Verse that, are all around about that area. So is Howie going to go for the guy that he wants, or is he going to take best player available at 22?
Now you talk about that Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton was actually mentored by, our own Lane Johnson. I interviewed Tyler Guyton. I said, he's like, that's my big brother. He said, he's been mentoring my whole career. We have a special relationship. While we were there, I tried to get an interview the first time, and Big Dom stepped in the way because I guess they're pulling him off for an interview. I was like, hey,
my boy Big Dom, my buddy Big Dom.
I said, Dom, can we get him? So they pulled him off away, and then I got an interview with him later. But I think Tyler Guyton would be a developmental piece. He doesn't have a ton of production, but his athleticism was.
Hollis doesn't want him. He shat all over me when I said Tyler Guyton last week.
This will take you off your mock boards, your draft boards. Shout out to Tim Kincaid. We brought him down to the Senior Bowl with us. He was there. He met Tyler Guyton. He was in Arizona. He lives in Arizona. He was at a restaurant. Saw Tyler Guyton at the restaurant. Tyler Guyton says, "Oh, I remember you from the Senior Bowl," and he said, "Go Birds," and he's like, "Nah, go Cowboys."
Nah.
And Tim was like, "What?" He's like, "Nah, if I got drafted by the Eagles, that's cool, And I was like, "Yeah, off my list."
So my internet went down there very, very briefly, so I missed what you said before, and all I heard at the end was "No, go Cowboys." So did you say that Guyton said "Go Cowboys"?
Go Cowboys.
Oh no, fuck him.
When Tim said "Go Birds," he said "Go Cowboys."
Oh no, fuck him. Who is this guy anyway? I mean, I don't want him.
Oh, he went to TCU, went to Oklahoma. There's a lot of Cowboy fans over there, but I'm saying if he got drafted, I'm sure he would change.
Nah, give me Brandon Coleman in the 6th round for TCU. I'll waive Guyton in the 1st.
Yeah, we'll get our developmental tackle later.
Yeah,
okay?
we'll just get another Jordan Mailata. It's easy, right?
Yeah. Another guy, Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ, they call him. He's a guy that can play center. He's played all across the line. This is the kind of thing you start looking at different snaps, like where do they play? Do they have that kind of flexibility? So I feel like there's a couple guys that the Eagles could say, hey, do you want to play? You want to play tackle in 2 years, and then we'll figure it out. I think you have J.C. Latham out of Alabama, Amarius Mims, hulking. He's a athletic tackle. He's a monster.
Mick wants Mims, I think.
We have Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, who could potentially play. He used to play tackle, but he could play guard. I think Troy Fontano from Washington. I think he was amazing at the combine. Showed off his athleticism. I think he would be the perfect pick for Stoutland. I think Stoutland was there at the combine. He saw the mobility. He's like, bro, this guy can step in guard, and then we could potentially move him on the outside. He's got the long arms. I think he's like 6'3", but he still has the long arms as well. So,
do you think Tyler Steen has any chance of moving to right tackle to replace Lane Johnson?
He has that in his bag. He's played tackle, but I like the fact that they all have that versatility. I mean, because that's what they love, man. I mean, we had Isaac Sumalu could play how many positions? 5 positions. But right guard is not like set it and forget it right now. For me, I'm like, you can't just be like, we'll go into the season. The interior of this offensive line is, who's dependent on that? His success. That is where Jalen Hurts makes his money. So the interior needs to be 100% ready to go for the season. We can't just be like, let's roll the dice on Steen if he's not the guy, or if Cam Jurgens is the guy. I think he's got that locked up. They just don't want to say it. I don't know, for some reason.
Yeah. Well, it was big shoes to fill on the.
Oh hell yeah! But he's handpicked.
I know.
Hey, we ran into Cam Jurgens' parents in New England.
Is there anyone you don't know, Gayle? Is there anyone you don't know?
We randomly bump into people. But his mom she could play tackle. She had her hands in a good way. She's like,
I hope she's not listening to this podcast.
Like, she's the athlete. Like I'm like, let me see your kick set. Like she was definitely. I was like, can we get a photo with you? She's like, no, my hair. I was like, come on, you're a legend already. Come on.
All right. Good. Right, we're gonna do your picks. So we got a couple of questions for you, which is going to include your first round pick and your 50 and your 53. Let's have a quick think about that. But before we do that, we're going to go through a quick advert for our premier sponsor, Loch Lomond Whiskies. Please enjoy a drop whenever your lips have a thirst.
Celebrate victories, rally through challenges, and bond with fellow fans as you toast with a dram of Loch Lomond single malt whisky. From tailgating gatherings to watch parties at home, Loch Lomond whisky becomes an essential companion, enhancing the moments that make football so extraordinary. It's the perfect accompaniment, from the joy of victory to the bittersweet moments of defeat. Loch Lomond offer a wide range of malts, with their flagship perfectly balanced, and signature expressions Inchmoan and Inchmuren to suit any taste palette. Celebrate greatness on and off the field this season with a perfect balance of Loch Lomond whisky and Eagles football. From the first pour to the crowd roar. Fly Eagles fly.
I absolutely love that whiskey, and I love that advert listening into Mick. So a bit of breaking news here for the British and Irish Eagles. In the regular season, we will not just be doing one podcast every week. We will be doing two podcasts every week. We will be doing a review of the current game, which will be our normal podcast, and we will be doing a short 15 to 20 minute podcast for the preview every week. So nothing to worry about too soon, but from feedback from our listeners, you're going to get two helpings of the British and Irish Eagles in the regular season. So very much looking forward to that. And a rumor has it, Mick McGivern himself may be appearing for an episode or two of those during the season. So you will get to hear his dulcet tones, not just on the Loch Lomond advert, but again, talking about our precious birds. Phil, I'm going to throw it over to you, my friend, for a couple of questions for Gayle.
Yeah, so we're not going to ask you all of the ones that you can see in front of you, Gayle. Don't worry. This is our annual competition that we put through at the front. You can score the most points and win themselves a bottle of Loch Lomond whiskey. But the ones that we are going to ask you directly, starting with question number one, the most important one, most likely, is what position group do you think that the Eagles are going to draft? Obviously, we've covered it mostly already, but we'll just go position group. Let's not get too bogged down in the weeds. Do you think they're going to go DB, offensive line?
Don't make it easy for him. I want position group and player.
Okay.
This guy, I mean, because my mindset is like, I have to figure out there's a certain amount of guys that I like, and then whoever's there on the board that makes sense. I feel like this is tough. I think the way that the board suits us, our pick of cornerbacks should be there minus Quinyon Mitchell.
So,
I think if we added Jared Verse,
okay, you think he'll still be there?
I think if he falls, I think I do think. My thing is,
I love watching you squirm, by the way.
It's very early on, so there's I think going offensive line would be. I'm saying move up for Quinyon Mitchell. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, listen.
That's really what I'm saying.
That yeah. All right. Phil, what do you reckon about that? What do you reckon about that, Phil?
Yeah, no, I think for me, the position the Eagles in is difficult and it's not ideal. But there's talk of drafting, trading up or trading down. I feel like there's going to be plenty there to pick and choose, and we can afford to see if something drops. But also, if nothing drops, like you said, the choice of cornerback should be more than enough to sort of stay where we are. Maybe this is the year that Howie sits on his hands. Maybe he stays quiet.
Have you got the stats on that, Gayle? Like, I'm trying to think. How often has he moved from the position he's in the draft? Did you do that when you were looking at your?
No, not yet. But I think
up your game, Gayle. Fuck's sake, come on! What are you doing over there? 4 o'clock in the morning. You didn't do that.
So we've drafted the most prospects we've drafted in the Howie season era. We've had 4. We have Brandon Graham, 2010, Marcus Smith, 2014, Derek Barnett, 2017, Nolan Smith, 2023. DT, Fletcher Cox, 2012, Jordan Davis, 2022, Jalen Carter, 2023. Offensive tackles, we drafted 2, Lane Johnson, Andre Dillard. Wide receivers, Jalen Reagor, DeMonte Smith. Interior offensive lineman, Danny Watkins, 2011. QB, Carson Wentz, 2016. Those are the prospects. So, if we're going trenches, that is 7 prospects.
So the notable missing there. So Howie's not drafted a cornerback. In fact, the last Eagles cornerback is Lito Shepherd in 2002.
It's been 2002 Lito Shepherd.
Yeah, Lito Shepherd.
And he went back-to-back corner with Sidney Jones,
Russell and Sidney. Yeah.
So I feel like this would be the perfect. It's not too egregious to go get your corner. I mean, you're already seeing how your cornerbacks are set up right now.
Sorry, so if you're not trading up, sorry, go on, Tony.
So, are you potentially saying that you would double dip at cornerback first and second rounds?
I think I wouldn't. I think.
Oh, damn.
I would.
And you're thinking about your mock draft, aren't you?
I mean, you could you could set it and forget it and have your Lito and Sheldon Brown type of draft, and I would be, because my thing is, I'm looking at this draft and thinking about what it looks like our defense looks right now. We need a defensive somebody, we need that, the way that our defense was set up last year. We need some spice added. We need some culture infused. I think we got some pieces in there, but I think this is the way that the board works out. If you have to move up, you have to move up, and I'm not even.
So if you're not moving up, if you don't move up, right? So we got your pick. Your pick is moving on from Mitchell, right? If you're not moving up, who's your pick?
God,
you still going CB? You still going CB?
Well, you could talk me into because other guys that Washington guard tackle Troy Fontana, if they moved up for him, I wouldn't be mad at it, because I know that would be. Gayle,
we're not moving up anymore.
Okay, I know. I just had to get that out there.
We're at the position. We're at pick 22. Who are you going for? Come on, man.
And not moving up. And I can't move. I think
you could give us another one to move back. But if you had to sit on your hands and you're Harry and you pick up 22, and you know who's going to. Well, you think you know who's going to be around. We all think.
For me, Leatu Latu would be.
You think he'll still be there?
There's potential, because if the medicals say that, if teams are scared of that, I take the way that he was undressing offensive linemen down at the Senior Bowl was crazy. But if teams at the combine were like, well, we don't really like his athleticism, I thought he'd be a little bit more athletic. He's not like a 4.4 or a 4.5 guy. He's more of a 4.6 dude. And they're like, and we're scared of the medicals.
And they pass on him, then you'd snap him up.
If you add it into our little mixed bag, we only have, put it this way, we have 2 edges on
pass this year.
Yeah. Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith. So you're gonna.
Phil, are you sure my mock draft can't go last? He sure has to come first.
And give you the advantage? No.
Because my thing is, you got the guys that could potentially be there. If I'm going to be real with you, Chop Robinson.
Yeah.
I think he could potentially be there. I think.
Is Cooper DeJong going to be there?
I think he could potentially go a little earlier, but he could still be there. If teams feel like
he had a great day yesterday. Did you see all of his stats that came out of it? Like he was in the 90, yeah, but like his overall stats was like 99 point something in the top 1% since 1970 or something at cornerback. It was crazy.
He's a crazy athlete. He's a crazy basketball player. He like in Iowa, he's like the state of Iowa. He's like third in the state in scoring.
Really?
Like, no, he's second in the state in scoring.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
TJ Hawkinson, the tight end for Minnesota, is leading. And then Harrison Barnes, the NBA player, is like third.
Fucking hell. That's mad.
So he's definitely an athlete, I think. But do teams see him as a safety more than they do a cornerback? So I think he could potentially be there if people are thinking that he's a safety. I think Terrion Arnold, I think he'd be an interesting prospect, cornerback. Nate Wiggins, the cornerback, I think he should be in that range. He's built, his frame is he's a little bit light for me. He doesn't like to tackle. So I'm like, that's where I'm like, you already told me I can't move up. So
I feel like I'm being a dictator here, which my co-podcasters always call me.
Byron Murphy and Jerzon Newton from Illinois. If these guys were selected, we don't know what Milton Williams is. Will the real Milton Williams please stand up?
Please stand up. I knew. I like that.
For the future, do we know him as a role player? Yes, but you got these.
He's no option now. I mean, with Fletcher Cox gone, if they don't draft a defensive tackle in the first round, which I doubt they will do after doing it back to back with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, they're not going to triple dip on the first round picks in the defensive tackle 3 years in a row, right? I mean, that's surely not.
I wouldn't mind it.
Well, yeah, okay.
Because Jordan Davis has showed us that he's a 2-down player right now.
Well, and then you play a 3-4 defense then for the next 10 years with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and this other guy, depending on how Jordan Davis develops.
Johnny Newton plays with his hair on fire. So I feel okay with these guys. Like if those guys are around, I will. It doesn't have to be in the position group that you like, Liam. But if that dog is there, I'm going to select them.
Okay, I like that. Phil, Gayle, have we still got you for another 10 minutes or so? I'm conscious we're coming up to the hour mark.
No, I'm here.
You're all good?
I do this in my sleep.
It might be 15 minutes then. Phil, we probably got to get to the game because we're an hour in. We should get to the game. And I'm going to go first, and you can see my draft, Gayle. And then you got it. Now, all I'm going to say, Gayle, is before you look at mocks 2, 3, and 4, don't forget the studs in my mock 1, all right?
Okay.
Don't forget the guys. Take some notes if you need to. All right.
Okay, then let's get the show on the road. And like I said at the start, this is deliberate, putting Liam at the start. He won the last 2 competitions with the guests that we had on the last year, being one of them being yourself, Gayle. So this is your chance to make up for it. So we put him first. So let's get on with Liam's mock draft, and he can do his best politician impression and sell this to you. So off you go, Liam.
Well, you mentioned my boy Latu, and I probably did the pronunciation of his name not as a lot of justice there, but he fell to me in my mock draft. Just before we go on, before we go any further, Tony has lost internet in the house. That's his excuse. Anyway, I feel like he was too worried about being knocked out of this last mock standing 2024. But the word on the street is his internet has gone down, so he may or may not be back. Anyway, back to the last mock standing. And those listening in who aren't looking on YouTube or aren't looking on the Spotify video, UCLA edge rusher Latu. Mick pulled together some highlight reels of this guy in college, and I texted him, I think it was 2 nights ago, and I went, I'm in love with Latu. I said, and Mick turned around and said, you might be in love with him, but he ain't going to fall to us. So that was Mick's opinion on whether he'll still be there. But on the draft board, when I did my mock draft, Tony's back. On the draft board, Latu was still there, and I just think with the unknowns around Nolan Smith at the moment, he has all the attributes, and he didn't get a lot of playing time last year. We've got Brandon Graham, but he's going to be a role player this year. It's a song year. If Brandon Graham comes out of the season with 3 sacks in important moments, I think that's a win for the Eagles this year, keeping Brandon Graham on from a cultural perspective more than anything. Hassan Reddick is gone, which is a huge gap. You've also lost Fletcher Cox in the interior who can get to the pass rusher. Give me a guy who's going to get you production. Give me a guy who's athletic. Give me a guy who beats people time after time on the edge. If Latu is there, I am all in. And I think I will be as bold as to say that Latu in the first round is a better first round pick than anyone else in this last mock standing so far. So give me Latu in the first. What do you reckon about Latu in the first, Gayle?
Like I said, I mentioned him. I mean, I feel like what I saw him do at the Senior Bowl cemented it. Like he like I feel like there's this guy on social media. He disarms people, shows people how to disarm people with weapons.
Oh, I've seen this guy. Yeah.
That's layout Latu. That's how he is. He disarms offensive tackles and he gets to the quarterback so fast. You're like, how did he get here?
He's just there.
He's a former rugby player. I don't know if you like former rugby players.
Well, we like Jordan Mailata, that's for sure. Former rugby player in Australia.
The medical retirement will scare some people, but I feel like his love for the game. I sat and tried to get an interview with him. It took me forever, so I just sat there and listened to him speak. Nice. He just said his love for the game, being out of the game, thinking that he was going to retire. It just made his love for the game that much even more so. Interesting. I like it. Nice. I love it, actually.
And also, like, I'm thinking in the stadium, right? The crowd are up. It's third down. Everyone is starting clapping. Everyone started screaming. It's getting louder and louder and louder. Latu gets to the quarterback, puts him on his ass. And then the scream from the crowd is Latu, and that reverberates around the link. And Phil is annoyed because I'm giving you some juice.
Phil's like,
we've only had one of your picks so far. Liam.
All right, okay.
I have another half hour. Don't worry.
All right. Listen, I do not agree with going wide receiver in the first round because I think that's too much draft capital. But when you have 2 second-round picks at 50 and 53, Roman Wilson, I felt to me a little bit. I know he's around that pick. I think he could go a little bit earlier. He could drop a little bit. I feel like the slot guy you're looking for to complement A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I think he's a steal at 50. With the depth of wide receiver, if you're giving me Latu in the first round and you're giving me Wilson in the second round, I'm feeling very good at my defensive and offensive picks so far with another pick to go. Three picks later, and then I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's name, but I've gone for Kyron Emagaji. How have I done?
Very
that
nice.
Sounds right. That sounds good. Isn't it? Look, he's projected to go anywhere between the 50th and the 70th pick. When I've been looking at the draft boards on PFF specifically, he has the traits that I believe Jeff Stoutland can work with, and I'm either gonna go edge, tackle, or cornerback in the first round. I do like Cooper. I'm a big fan of Cooper. I think he could be a statement player for us. I think he could be a real difference maker for us, and also like a bit of juice. You give me CJ Gardner-Johnson and you give me Cooper in cornerback in the second year. That's amazing. But this is the way it fell for me. So I wanted to go tackle, and with the 53rd pick, I feel like Kyron is a good pick. I feel like he can, again, he's got a little bit of versatility there. He can play guard and he can play tackle as well. So I was pretty happy with the first 3 picks. Because I didn't go cornerback in the first round, we got some issues there. I've gone Chris Abrams-Dryan. Don't know a lot about the guy, but I read a little bit up on him. It's a bit of a dart. I think anytime you get from 110, 120 plus, you're throwing some darts anyway. They might say you're throwing darts in the 5th and 6th. I think you're probably throwing them in the 4th, especially if you're looking in the secondary of how high cornerbacks go. And that's why I double dipped and went back to Dwight McGlovern in pick 171 as well. He was a previously projected to be in the top 100, just under, around 90 to 110, and he's dropped back since the combine a little bit. Dwight has, and I went JD Bertrand again. This was more of a positional need pick rather than me knowing too much about the guy. You may know more about him, Chris and Dwight, than I do, but I went for Bertrand because it seemed like good value at the time. We need some support in the linebacker room. It's not set in stone. And I knew Mick would be happy because I picked a Notre Dame boy. And then I've gone Dillian Lobb. I don't think Lobb is going to be anything other than a back who's going to be
easy.
Go on.
It's one of my favorites.
All right. Well, okay. Maybe it's better than I thought he was.
I interviewed him. Great interview.
All right. So let me be clear. So Latu, Wilson, and IBJ, I've done recon on all 3 of those, and I feel pretty good about all 3 of those. I'm not going to sit here on a podcast and say I know a lot about the rest of the picks I've made. I saw Lobby in the combine. He looked pretty decent. I like what I saw. We've got Barkley, so I'm taking everything with a bit of a pinch of salt. In the running back room, and we need some depth there because we've only got Gainwell under contract, right?
We actually at the Senior Bowl we were hanging out with Bertrand's mom. She was right next to us. He's a guy.
I'm getting a bit worried about how many moms you know. This is 4 on the podcast you've named so far.
We just know randos. But he led the drills down at the Senior Bowl. He's definitely one of those leader types. He was the first guy that led all the other players through the drills. Like amazing. He made sure. And we were talking to her mom. Like he's like, yeah, he always has to be first. But his teammate Maris is also, forget how you say his last name, also a developmental linebacker. That's like his adopted brother. Like they're super tight. But I think Dylan Lobby, he's a poor man's Christian McCaffrey.
What? That's a statement.
That's what he developed he develops his game after. He's like, I'm a poor man's Christian McCaffrey.
So what you're telling me is you've already mentioned that you like Roman Wilson earlier on in the podcast as a slot guy. You love Latu as the first pick. You like Bertrand, and he was leading everyone in. Dylan Lobbe is one of your guys. You like him as well. So do you want to just give me the crown now, or should we? Do we need to do the other 3?
I think Phil and Tony are going to come strong here.
So before we go on, I don't know much about Chris Abrams, Dryan, and McGlovern. Do you know much about these guys?
I have not watched Chris.
Yeah. Okay.
I know he was down at the Senior Bowl though, but I haven't got that far on Chris yet.
All right. Well, listen. There is my first last mock standing pick of the season. And we'll get all 4 up at the end so you can recap them all, just so you don't forget what you saw. That's all. Go, Phil.
Phil's got something up his sleeve. I know Phil got something up his sleeve.
So obviously Mick's not on the podcast, so I'll do his.
This is Mick's. All right, nice.
This is Mick's. So Mick is obviously, as we've described, our draft expert. So he likes to go a little bit left field with his. I think he knows what everyone's going to pick at when it comes up, who might fall. I think he likes to be a bit sort of wild card with his mock draft. So as you can see on the screen, he picks at number 22 a cornerback from Clemson, Nate Wiggins. We've already spoken about him. He's one of the 3 that we're looking at maybe falling around that portion of the draft, Gayle. And he's gone for a tackle in round 2, pick 50 in similar to what Liam did.
Yeah, but I got him 3 picks later, so he's already losing on that front.
The whole 3 picks, Liam. Yeah. we've obviously talked on him. He's gone 3 picks later with edge rusher Jonah Ellis. Gayle, have you got much? Have you got a story about Jonah Ellis's mum or anything like that?
his brother actually plays with the Eagles.
Yeah, of course he
yeah.
does. Yeah. Christian Ellis.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's 2 brothers. You know, the Eagles had 2 brothers, Ellis brothers, on the squad. Aeneas Smith, interesting. Aeneas Smith he's a yak dude. Also can play running back, wide receiver. That's an interesting pick.
So Mick's got taking his wide receiver in round 4, pick 120 in Aeneas Smith.
Yeah,
he's also gone for JD Bertrand in his draft in round 5, pick 161. If I scroll back quickly, exactly the same pick as Liam.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also gone for Dylan Laube, as you guys pronounce it. But instead, he's gone for safety later on in the draft. So he's gone for Jalen Simpson from Auburn, pick 172, and then he's come up with another wide receiver right at the end of the draft for us in Dominic Lovett out of Georgia. What are your thoughts on the draft as a whole there, Gayle?
Interesting. I know the Eagles were at Auburn's pro day, checking out the secondary guys. I think overall, I think Ellis is interesting. He's I'm not gonna say a sleeper, but I think it's an interesting perspective of trying to get edge in that second round. You get to developmental tackle in the second round. That's I've been thinking about him as that dude. But I'm wondering if I want a starter like right away. I think Nate Wiggins I took him in a couple mocks. Just seeing his ability to tackle, teams are going to attack him in the run game, and I think we've seen a lot of missed tackles in our time as Eagle fans last 2 seasons. I think that 4.28. His recoveries quickness is there. I think he's a solid cover corner, but overall not bad. You got my guy Dylan Laube in there.
So the premise of this, which I think we forgot to mention at the start, and what Liam has tried to conveniently circumvent, is the fact that it's called last mock standing. So it's not a question of putting all 4 up at the end, as Liam's tried to suggest. It's a question of he goes first. Does Mick's mock beat and knock him off?
No
so
chance.
He obviously does, by default goes into the championship position. The Mick's mock has come along. Does he take his place at the top?
So show both of them then. Let's remind them.
So that's Liam. So they are very similar. I think you've mentioned obviously you love Latu and
let him talk, Phil.
No. I was just saying. I was saying at least we got 2 starters right there. And then you got your developmental guy in the third of that pick. So I don't like my second round or top of the second round sitting. But I think Roman Wilson would be your wide receiver 3 off the rip. God, man, go back real quick. I have to go with this one.
Yeah. It begins, Liam, right? So Liam carries on.
Gayle won't let me win the way you two have gone on about it now. But, let's keep going.
Latu's a dog, man. I'm just saying.
He is a dog. Latu and Roman Wilson 1-2 is I'm not sure the Eagles will get that, but that's what felt to me. If we got those 2 picks 1 and 2, I would be naked running down the street.
Okay. You've had enough time defending your mark there. Right, let's move on to Tony's mark. So he's coming up next.
Draft! Some trades going on. Tony, take it away.
This one, yeah. Tony, take this away. Let us know what you think. And remember, Gayle, this is competing against Liam's.
Judge Saunders, let me put forward the case for the defence. Literally, the case for the defence. I was dismayed to hear that you would not double dip on your cornerback.
But you didn't say for who, but go ahead.
Aha. So, We kick off with Cooper Jawn, follow that up quickly at the start of the second round with our Michigan cornerback, Mike Sainristril. Of course, I work in the whiskey industry, Gayle, so Loch Lomond is very proud to be one of only 4 distilleries in Scotland that has a cooperage on site. So I've gone Cooper Jawn and I've gone Edger and Cooper as my linebacker. We have to give a shout out for the guys that make the whiskey barrels. So Edger and Cooper is my linebacker. You'll see there I traded back a couple of times, picked up some later round picks in order to make that Edger and Cooper pick a bit more of a valuable pick. Picked up a late 3rd round and a couple of 4th rounds, a 4th and a 5th from that. So I followed my linebacker of Edger and Cooper up with a wide receiver from Western Kentucky. Watched a bit of tape on Malachi Corley, and I have to say Ricky Pierce would have been my pick there if I could have picked him up. But I plumped for Edger and Cooper. I probably could have got Ricky Pierce, but I felt he would have been a bit of a reach at 50 or 53. So I tried to trade back and pick him up, but he went just before Edger and Cooper. So Malachi Corley in the 3rd round, fairly early 3rd round, picked up a safety from Texas Tech. In the 4th, and with some of the extra picks, I've then got a bit of an edge from Clemson. Lots of talk about the Clemson guys this year, so he fell a wee bit for me there. I am so fearful about our linebacker position after last season. And to Liam's point, throwing a few darts, picking up a couple of linebackers, Cedric Gray from Carolina, and following up on a Michigan pick with another Michigan pick and Michael Barrett, which Mick will be absolutely dismayed at because he hates the big blue from Michigan. If I could have balanced it out with a Notre Dame pick, I would have done. And following up again with another dart and Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest as a safety. So really bolstering that secondary with my draft, with a couple of offensive picks in there. So my wide receiver 3 in Malachi Corley, and a bit of an edge in my defence with Xavier Thomas. Pick it apart, Judge Saunders. Pick it apart.
You know what? This is a pretty sexy draft you got there, pal. We've nicknamed Cooper Jawn. I think if you want to play him at safety, if you want to play him at corner, he does have a lot of versatility. The Mike Sainristril pick, that dude is a captain at his size. You got to be a maniac on that Michigan team. Haitian dude. You can't outwork this guy. I think he would like those 2 picks followed by Edrin Cooper. I think, you got potential, those 3 picks right there I feel like are really solid picks. And then you cement it with Malachi Corley. Because this offense is missing is a yak guy that can actually get that yak and not just like this guy can break tackles. He's a former running back. I think Malachi, he got like I guess he showed the most leadership down at the Senior Bowl. His peers spoke very highly of him. Cedric Gray is another guy who flourished down at the Senior Bowl, had that pick in the Senior Bowl game. He's another one of my favorites. And then I think you took some stabs at safety. So I feel like – sorry, Liam.
Well, before you make a decision,
I already made my decision.
Before you make a decision, we got to compare and contrast. And what I will say before you make a decision, Gayle, is if you look at this draft as a whole and you look at the Eagles' needs, I don't see a tackle anywhere on the roster here, and I see 3 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. Do you think Howie Roseman is gonna draft 2 cornerbacks, 3 linebackers, and 2 safeties? And
this Liam, this isn't about what Howie's going to draft. This is Judge Saunders' draft. And can I just say, a Gadgie in Scotland is a poor man. So the fact that you have drafted Gadgie, I'm sorry, you are a Gadgie, Liam. It's a poor man's draft that you've drafted. Go on, Judge Saunders. Give us your verdict.
I don't think there's a.
We're going with Tony right
now. Well, you remember all my picks?
So,
decisions made, Liam.
No, this is because where I'm standing at. Like I feel like Mike. That's right there. We're talking about a youthful nickel. Who we're talking leadership too. Obviously, I love Roman Wilson. I'm talking about a guy who his dad got a job at a airport so his son could fly to this exclusive high school. So he'd fly back and forth.
That's cool.
This guy, Roman Wilson, is a great dude as well. But I feel like
and Latu as well. Roman and Wilson and Latu. You sure?
The back end pieces I like here with Edrin Cooper because that's a guy that he's a developmental guy that can learn real quick. He's got the size, the range you love, but you still got a wide receiver in Malachi Corley who can get the yak. We have Paris Campbell in the mix, but I feel like Malachi Corley gives our offense. How many times we got to see Quez Watkins? I'll swear when he talks when he runs a screen and it looks awful. I don't think you're going to have that with Malachi Corley. He's going to give you another dimension of yak to this offense, which is totally missing from our wide receiver 3.
I will bow down, Tony Burton. Well done. Congratulations. You're through to the final against Philip Defense Mount Stevens. Gayle?
We're still friends, man.
We'll talk.
Still friends.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
Between the 2 of them now, and it's going to be like, I'm so sorry.
It's cool, man.
I don't really feel like I need to put my mock up anymore because my goal for the night has been achieved. Liam hasn't won, so I haven't really anything after this point now is just a bonus. But in the interest of competition, Tony, let's get it on. And so just that's Tony's mark. Just try and remember some of those so I don't have to go back to and forth before you see the winning mock draft.
You got to go back and forth when you need to see both at the end.
I know. This is my mock draft.
Ooh.
So there's a few similarities here between the mock that have come before here. Cooper DeJean, I think, is, like Liam said, an incredible athlete. He's an exciting guy. I think we desperately need some youth and excitement coming in with some premium blue chip defensive back play. And a favourite of yours, have you mentioned already, Gayle, coming in number 50, Ricky.
It's making it very, very tough already.
That's what we want.
And I also picked up Joan Ellis, edge rusher, for pick 53 to come in a little bit earlier than Tony. Also, Cedric Gray, linebacker for pick 139 in round 5 after a brief trade with Washington, surprisingly, to pick up 139 and pick 222 just to sort of sprinkle a bit on and a fifth in 2025, but I know that's irrelevant in this. I have gone a bit early with Malik Mustafa as a safety pick in pick 161, but I've also picked up Dylan Lowe at pick 171. Gone in for another edge rusher and Braden McGregor just for a bit of extra depth in the edge position. Gone for a bit of a vanity pick in Frank Gore Jr. at running back from Southern Miss at pick 210, and in pick 222 in round 7. The extra pick I got from Washington, I've picked up a tackle in Brandon Coleman.
I like Brandon Coleman. I like that depth pick right at the end. I think that's a. I think Coleman with Stoutland, potential to make it to the team, which I think is a win when you're picking at pick 222.
Liam, I know that you're trying to influence Judge Saunders here.
I'm not at all.
But the thing is, I just don't mind. I don't mind.
No, I'm not. No,
I don't mind the fence.
Tony,
do you think
have beaten you? Do you think I give a do you think I give a fuck who wins now? I'm out. I don't.
Do you think we do either?
All I care was about me winning. I'm just giving my honest feedback.
Oh, man.
Give us your thoughts, Judge.
So Cooper, again, I spoke about Cooper DeJean. I had to go back and watch a lot to just because I feel sorry for the kid because he's a white dude playing corner, he gets tremendous from all types of like Chris Sims is like. So how does it feel being the Great White Hope? Like, dude, like he doesn't need that pressure or
Chris Sims is a prick. So sorry.
Like people are like, oh, like when was the last time we had a white corner? His teammate Riley Moss, who was drafted in the 3rd round by the Denver Broncos, which was a year ago. So like, there's so much he's dealing with a lot, but overall at the end of the day, insane athlete. I think leadership wise, he'd be tremendous. You know, I think whether you like him at safety or corner in the Fangio defense, you got to be a smart corner. You gotta. He plays well in zone, very disciplined. Ricky Pearsall is one of my favorites. Go check his play. Charleston, the one-handed grab, mentally sound. He's definitely, he can get the yak, but he's also a crispy route runner. I love everything about Ricky. My thing is I saw him before the Senior Bowl, went down there, and then he blew it out of the water. I like the developmental edge. He could be your situational guy. Good value. Then you hit it with Cedric Gray, another guy, a linebacker who I really love. Oh, God. This is tough. Because, Brandon Coleman.
I think the question you need to ask yourself is, the question you answer is, are the first 3 picks that Phil has better than the first 3 picks that Tony has, and then add in the depth at the end? Like, you can split it into those 2 segments. So Cooper DeJean, Mike Sarenstill, and Edward Cooper as your first 3 versus Cooper DeJean, Ricky Purcell, Jonah Ellis. So figure out which of those 3 you like the most, because there's a huge drop. It's a huge drop off from 53 to the rest on both of them.
Could you go back to Tony's real quick? Back in. Do we have any? Do we have any halfbacks in there?
We do not.
This is tough. This is definitely
no halfbacks and no tackles.
This is definitely a tough one.
So if I was to pick this based on what I think the Eagles need, I would pick Tony's. Probably. because I think we are so bad in the secondary, it's beyond belief. And I don't think we have, as an Eagles fan, I don't think we've addressed it yet. CJ Gardner-Johnson being back is great. Slay is a year older, as much as I love him, but he's another year older. We got Bradbury. We don't know where he's going to be. We don't know what this guy coming off his gambling suspension is going to be like. So I think you do need to sort out the secondary for the Eagles, and that will be the reason why I would choose Tony's. However, I feel like Phil's is a more well-rounded pick for the entire team. That would be where I would land on it.
I just feel like there's a lot of it's very tough because you got Cedric Gray in both drafts, which I love. Right. I just feel like there's missing. You have different 2 types of different wide receivers. You got a yak in Malachi Corley, but Ricky Pearsall is a crispy route runner, and he's a technician, which I told him. I said, you are a technician. I just feel really strongly about Ricky Pearsall. That's what's his. And Dylan is another guy. These are why I went and interviewed these guys. Because I felt a certain way about them going in.
There's a certain way that makes you stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about them, Gayle?
Yeah, like when you're watching Dylan Lobby's high school games, and you're like, "Why am I here? I'm watching him play you know, you
because you love the game, man. You love the game. You love the Eagles. That's what it's all about.
You got a developmental tackle in Brandon Coleman who had a 30 visit with the Eagles already, so you know there's a pipeline to TCU lineman to Philly already. With Big V is from TCU. We have Pryor's from TCU. Frank Gore. We finally have a Gore that's going to stay. I'm going to give Phil his.
Oh, there we go. Congratulations, Phil, the Fence Mount Stevens.
But Tony's first half of his draft, I feel like Mike does it for me. Like Cooper is awesome, but Mike fills it in lovely.
Do you think Mike's going to? Do you think you're going to get Mike at 50? He's projected 36 here in the PFF.
I would have wished if you got a wide receiver earlier. I like Malachi, but if knowing the wide receiver class that I know it is to be, I just need a better wideout wide receiver 3.
So what we're going to do, Gayle, is we're going to.
I still love you.
We're gonna. Hang on, my cat wants to get in here. Bear with me 2 seconds.
This whole podcast was a great exercise for the mind.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the reason why we do it, and thank you for picking mine. I did put it at the end deliberately because it seems to be the most. I'm joking. It definitely was the best one, and.
No shame whatsoever. Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
I mean, you all got beaten by a guy who started mocking 12 hours ago, started looking at college players 6 days ago.
Take it to the house, Phil. Why don't you take it to the house?
Pick mock drafts.
Have your victory lap and take your flowers.
I don't get to win very often, especially against Liam, so I'm taking it for what it's worth. But
listen, it's brilliant, and Phil, thank you so much for doing all the research for this podcast, because I know me and Tony have been very busy the last couple of days. And Gayle, it is an absolute pleasure every time I see you, meet you in person, do a podcast with you, chat to you on the phone, the whole shebang. Just love your enthusiasm for the Eagles, and as we've said on this podcast many times, what you guys do at 4th and Jawn for a local community in Philadelphia to help them experience the tailgates, and what you do for the community is just it's beautiful, and we really appreciate all you do there. And I know the guys, when we all came over to Philly to see you, one of the main things they wanted to do was come and see you guys at the 4th and Jawn tailgate. And when we got there, your boys are handing us out breakfast rolls. You're showing us the cooler. Katie was there and he mentioned it to me earlier on today. She can't hear me because she's watching the program. Was it the tomato pie?
Tomato pie, right? Yeah.
Katie was only mentioning the tomato pie to me today, saying how much you introduced her to that, and she loved it. And we cannot thank you enough for everything you do, man. And listen, let's get you back on. Let's get back on before the season starts.
Just let me know when you're around. You guys are always welcome to jump on 4th and Jawn.
I'm waiting for that invite. I need my second appearance.
I'll come on. I'll come on, Gayle. I'll bring my mock with me, and you guys can see if you can be it.
Oh, there you go.
All right, this guy wins one round. He's ready to go for.
He wants to take on the big dogs.
It's been the last one for a while, so I've got to milk it for all it's worth.
I just want to say that you guys are inspiration to us, man. Just seeing how your love across the pond, and seeing how we're all a brotherhood, sisterhood. We all love the Eagles, man. So when we all get together, it's like crazy that what's brought us together, the Eagles. So it's great to see everyone coming together over a damn football team. Yeah. That's the beauty of it.
It's part of our life. It's a big part of our life now. It's what we look forward to doing. It's my biggest thing outside of my. You spend all day at work, and you spend your time with people at work. You spend the time with your family and your friends. Number three is the Eagles, and chatting to these boys on the podcast, and Mick and everyone here in the UK, and Vince over at Philly Sports Trips, and you guys are 4th and Jawn, and all the family over there. So we love it. And listen, thanks everyone for listening in. This has been our second draft podcast. We will be back next week. Guests to be confirmed. couple in the works. Check out Twitter for more information on that in the coming days. Gayle, wish you all the best, my man. Tony, hope you get your Brandon Graham your card soon. Do you want to plug your boy again there, Gayle? It was the Invincibles, was it?
Yeah.
Immortals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immortals. Right here. Check out Jordan Spector. You can see they're always promoing this. Immortals, Timeless Legacies.
Love that. And we can catch you guys at 4th and Jawn, your podcast later on tonight.
Yeah, we'll be on at 6:30 in an hour. So
you'll be on in an hour. I will be finishing a glass of red wine and going to bed. But I'll send you a question for you to ask to everyone on the podcast from us here at the British and Irish Eagles. All right. Thanks everyone for listening in. Phil, Tony, it's always a pleasure. Mick, we miss you still listening in. We are the British and Irish Eagles. My name is Liam O'Neill. I'm your host. Phil, Tony, Gayle, thank you for joining us. We'll speak to you soon. Go Birds, baby!
Go Birds!